All right, hello, welcome to Adventures in Lollygagging. We are back to playing Call of Cthulhu this afternoon, evening, night, whenever you're watching this. We are still in Savannah. We had a couple strange run-ins last time around, as they got beat up by various creatures, a dog, an old man, and a dude at a sanitarium. So it was a good time.
There's a lot of biting.
Hey man, that's just how I roll, Ashley.
You know?
Like, look, look at Melissa's face.
Melissa, blink twice if you need help. Melissa, I live down the street.
Resolution isn't that great on her Zoom. You can't see it. All right. So yeah, we're back to playing Call of Cthulhu. We're continuing to internalize. Really excited about this. Everything's going really well so far. I don't know if we're going to finish up Savannah yet, but we'll see how it goes. We're just going to take our time and kind of play at the speed in which we feel like playing. Quick announcement before we get started. We have a giveaway today for the holidays. Sometime later this stream, our good friends at Norse Foundry have provided us a $50 gift certificate to go ahead and give away for all your dice rolling needs and dice related paraphernalia or something like that. So stay tuned. We'll do the usual thing that we do in the chat. So just keep an eye on it here and there. If you're watching this later on YouTube or something, sorry. But thank you for watching. We'll figure out a way to do it on YouTube at some point too. All right. Want to do like a quick, just say who you are, just kind of do a quick round table of who everybody is, and then we'll dive in. So Steven, who are you playing?
I am playing Pastor Zephaniah Wood, current pastor, ex-Texas Ranger. That's about it.
Yeah, sounds good. Perfect. Melissa, who are you playing?
I'm playing Marie Wynn. She is a jazz singer under the name Sissy May.
Very, very nice. Maitre, who are you?
Sharma Oberon, who is on a full wrestling scholarship to be a library studies major, and just really excited to be here.
Keep that energy. We'll see if Shaiba is still happy to be here come like Act 3. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what's up. Next up, Ashley, who are you?
I'm playing Dr. Beverly Key, a professor in anthropology.
Fantastic. Also at Miskatonic University. Mm-hmm. And finally, Long, who are you?
I'm Patrick Price. I cut hair for a living.
That a boy. So I had someone ask me, is Long's barber character, is that just like code for something else? Is he like a secret like government agent? And so I'm like, no, he's just a barber. He just cuts hair. So he's so secretive. Like, no, he's just cuts hair. He likes cutting hair. I don't know. All right, let's dive in then. So you all, after landing in Savannah last time, Frank Kearns, your pilot, he dealt with the plane storage, and you all hired a car, and that took you into the city. You rented rooms at a very fine hotel. I'm gonna go with, and I don't know if this is historically accurate, we'll call it the DeSoto. The ladies, you shared a suite on Dr. Beverly's dime, while Patrick, you got actually fairly lucky, and you got a third-story room with a balcony and a view after a cancellation at just the right time. Pastor Wood, you're in a cot in the boiler room. After some simple legwork, you had two addresses that Janet Winston Rogers had given you that were on letters written to her father, and when you looked into them very quickly, you found out that one of them was to the Henslow family estate that was out in the country, southeast of the city on Moss Island Peninsula, and the other one was relatively nearby in the city at Joy Grove Sanitarium. So you all decided to head out. So Douglas Henslow specifically was the name of the guy who was on these letters back and forth, and he seems, based on what you were able to deduce, that he actually spent time in the sanitarium over the last about dozen years or so, and that his widowed mother, Virginia Henslow, is remaining at the estate. So you got a driver to take you all the way out to the country, but when you arrived, you were denied access to the Henslow estate by a groundskeeper by the name of Carruthers and his dogs, one of which bit Shima. The estate was in relatively poor shape. It was kind of slowly being swallowed up by swamp that was around it. Patrick, you did manage to sneak over the wall at one point and get a look at the main house. There was nothing particularly out of the ordinary. It looked old, but there was nothing particularly out of the ordinary. There weren't any dead bodies on the ground or anything like that. Eventually, you guys did leave. After Carruthers did tell you that if you just go see Mr. Douglas Henslow and he gives you a note, that you can get inside, and he'd give you entry. So the next morning, you guys decided to go to Joy Grove, and that's where you met a couple folks, including head nurse Bethany May, who wanted you to sign a waiver and sign in, say who you're trying to visit, and then the guy who's actually in charge of Douglas Henslow's care, a man by the name of Dr. Keaton, Dr. Alex Keaton from Family Ties. Anyone? No Family Ties reference? Never mind.
I got
it. So yeah, all right, good. That's not what they sound like in Family Ties, but whatever. He was kind of surprised to learn that Henslow was receiving visitors, so he kind of took interest in your group. And he started giving you kind of a tour of the facility. He was asking about your interest in him and what you were trying to get out of this, all that kind of stuff. He also revealed a few things in the process that Henslow and another patient, Edgar Job, apparently, shared this delusion that he thinks was born from some kind of incident both of them witnessed or observed and experienced in Los Angeles about 12 years ago, 1924, that seemed to involve fire, murder, violence, that kind of stuff. The tour was interrupted when one of the patients, some random other patient, broke free from a pair of orderlies, charged Patrick and Shima, started beating up and biting Patrick, but Shima did manage to wrestle him off. Orderlies regained control. Dr. Keaton was kind of making apologies. And while all this happened, Marie, you kind of got a little bit separated through a door because this was all happening in the common room, and you just happened to go down a hallway. You watched as another patient, through the window of their room, made this classic and fairly unsettling throat-slashing gesture and just smiled at you. So we're going to pick up right there in the immediate aftermath. You can see Dr. Keaton is sort of rushing over. I'm mortified, Mr. Price. I am so very sorry. I cannot believe that such a foul, horrible thing would befall such a nice man as yourself. Please just accept my dearest apologies.
Oh, it looks like his piece of skin.
Oh my goodness. Well, I can get old Nurse Bethany. Come over here. Could you give Mr. Price a hand? He seems to have suffered an injury. Could you clean this up for him, please? Make sure everything's all on the up and up. You see, like, Nurse Bethany kind of comes over at this point, like, I can help you, sweetheart. I can help you. And kind of like sort of comes up, and she's like, if you want to come over here. And she sort of pulls you away from the group at this point to the other side of the common room, sort of sits you down. You can see she fetches from like the little window where a lot of the drugs and stuff are given out in these little tiny paper cups to folks who are lined up on the wall. She like asks for a few things, and they give her a couple little odds and ends, a little bandage and such, and she just tends you up like, don't worry, this will look just fine. It'll be just fine in the morning. I promise you. My bruise a little bit for a little while, but I'm sure you'll be okay. Big strong man like yourself.
Who was that man?
Oh, that man. Oh, that's Mr. Culver. He's normally a decent man. He just gets a little ornery every now and then, kind of like a bull. And when he sees red, every now and then he sees somebody else. Might have been the color of the tie you're wearing, and just that sweet smile of yours that just kind of set him off. You never quite know.
Wasn't for Shima. Who knows what my arm would be?
Oh, well, now let's not go exaggerating too much. I'm sure the orderlies would have gotten under control. And again, big, strong man like yourself, I'm sure you would have been just fine. And don't forget, you did sign the waiver, and this is just sort of part and parcel with sort of the working environment, I must say.
There's nothing I can do about regain my wits and join the group.
Well, I imagine you're going to be just fine. Just hold this right here, and then just keep it there for a little while, and I'm sure the blood will just stop. And if you can get a little bandage wrap around, make sure it doesn't get infected.
If I could ask, it does seem, I'm so glad that Mr. Price seems to be doing okay. Oh, if I could just ask about this gentleman here behind that door, who might.
So you come back into the common room. So what had happened, if you recall, is like there was kind of a scuffle. Beverly kind of pushed someone. It was you, Marie, and you kind of got pushed into the next hall, down one of these hallways towards where the patient rooms are. And when you start asking that question, Dr. Keaton comes, oh, don't pay him any mind, Miss Wynn. There are a number of, the number of very ill individuals within this here hospital, and we're doing our very, very best to give them the kind of care and treatment that they need. And every now and then, when they see an excitable new face and such, you never know what they have to do. So I don't worry about it too much. That fella right there, that's just Henry. Don't worry. Henry's I wouldn't go as far as to call him a sweetheart. he's certainly not one, but he's not a, well, he has a touch of violence in him, which is why we keep him in his room, especially when we have tours going on such as yours. But for the most part, when he's on his medication, he's very easy to deal with.
I see. Have you ever tried music therapy with any of these individuals here? The music can just calm the soul.
Well,
calm the soul.
That is very fascinating. I'm very curious indeed. Are there actually published papers on such therapeutic practices? I know we have certainly played a significant number of films and music as well, but we haven't particularly put any sort of structure on it necessarily. Just something to pass the time. You can get very, 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 very idle within this place, and that's definitely something we do not want. We do not want these fellas around here to have an idle mind. That's when accidents happen.
Idle mind is the devil's work, as they say. But music, it just has such the healing, and I don't know so much about research, but just in experience, when people just hear a song that they connect with, it is just so calming. But anyhow, I'm sorry, I digress.
Darling, that is just an absolutely lovely thing to say. I am, color me intrigued. Absolutely. I will dig into it right away. But we have other things to attend to at this point, I believe. Miss Bethany, have you managed to get Mr. Henslow to the interview room? She's like, yeah, and as she's like kind of holding on still to like Patrick's bandage, it's like, yeah, yes, Mr. Yeah, or no, what's his name, Doctor? Yes, Dr. Keaton. He's all ready. He's waiting. Like, well, if that's the case, we don't really want to leave them idling, like I said, by themselves. So why don't we head on down to the interview room, if that's all right with y'all? Mr. Price, are you going to be okay? Again, it was a very traumatic experience. If you would like to take a rest, I do have a wonderful, very comfortable couch within my office if you care to take a rest. And also, there's just the entertainment room in the basement if you just want to get a little rest. Make cafeteria as well if you're thirsty, hungry.
A few minutes might do me good.
Well, if that's what you like, we are going to go into the interviews. Would you like us to wait for you then?
I'll grab something and join you in a few.
Oh, I understand completely. Now, the rest of you just come with me. Miss Bethany, why don't you go ahead and leave Mr. Price down to the cafeteria, get him a little something to eat, get a little sugar back into him, get a little energy back into him. I'm sure they'll do just fine. All right, now. And so he starts waving everybody in, and like down this hallway, and he like stops Shima really quickly. Like, that was very quick thinking. If you ever have any interest in becoming an orderly out here, you spend a little time down in Joy Grove, you are far quicker, far more spry, and certainly as strong as some of the orderlies I have hired to do good work. And he's kind of speaking kind of loudly so the rest of them can hear.
Oh yeah, no, I'm really lucky. Like I'm on a wrestling scholarship at Mastonic, and honestly, I'm kind of carrying the team. We're not very good, but it's okay. They're really a really supportive team. I'm not really looking to change careers right now, but I really like the scholarship that I'm on. I'm trying to be a library studies major. It's gone pretty well, I think, yeah.
Well, aren't you just a ray of sunshine in an otherwise cloudy day? I'm so glad to hear such a thing. So glad to hear such a thing.
I keep making people in Savannah angry, though. There was a dog that bit me yesterday.
No,
it doesn't usually bite, and then we seem to have made your patient upset.
Oh, well, I don't go putting old Mr. Culver on you. That is certainly not your fault. He has attacked a handful of other folk, not to the point in which he has become any sort of liability, of course, as defined by the legal document. But he has had a few other incidents.
Nodding very earnestly at all this.
Point, I am just trying to reassure you that it is most certainly not you that has seemed to have caused Mr. Culver. Now, I cannot speak for that animal, but dogs can be a little fickle every now and then. You never know quite how their owners are treating them. Maybe it's a sign of something maybe it's just a little hungry one day. Who knows?
I'll take some food next time. That's a good idea. You're very smart. No wonder you're going to be in charge.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And if you're hungry, if you want to go join the cafeteria, we make wonderful, wonderful sweet tea and the lunch here. Now, I understand what you're thinking, looking around here and the conditions of this place, and this is a sanitarium, but I can tell you, the cooks here on staff, they make a very delicious meal. So after this whole interview, we're going to take you on down there. We're going to join your friend, and we're going to get you all.
That would be great. You know, my coach is a little funny
I can
about
be.
the things I eat, but he's not here, so.
Well, when you, what is the phrase? When in Rome, we've got all wonderful treats down here in the South. And this conversation continues down the hall as I think it's everybody but Patrick. Patrick, you've gone and you're like kind of being tended to by the nurse who's sort of leading you around. You kind of go back to the opening, the reception desk. You find the stairs, kind of go down to the lower level. Kind of sits you up with kind of sits down next to you, talks to you, slides over a thing of tea, gets you a little food here and there. It's just sort of chatting you up a bit. But the rest of you, you find yourselves going into an interview room. It is, and for all intents and purposes, it's a sort of an off-white, cream-colored room, not unlike what you've seen with some of the patient rooms. There's not a whole lot of color, and you can tell that there every now and then when you kind of peek in the corners and such here and there definitely appear to be some water stains and some cracks. It's not the best kept room. It is not padded the way some of the rooms are, what some of the patient rooms are. And you do see there is a table, and there is a man sitting there. There's an orderly that was kind of standing in the room with him as well. And as as Dr. Keaton steps into the room, he kind of exchanges a small word with the orderly, and you see the orderly kind of step out at that point. Now, when you come in, it's basically room for sort of 3 people to sit around this table. And then there's like just room for people to stand. Dr. Keaton will take one of the seats. So there's 2 more. Who would be sitting at the table with Mr. Henslow?
I'll pull out a chair for one of the women, but I won't take a seat.
Shaman doesn't feel like it's appropriate for sitting. So sure.
Beverly would sit down because she pulls out notes, paper. She's ready to take notes.
Okay.
May will sit down.
Good. Okay. So then the rest of you are kind of standing up here and there. And, when you see the man himself, you could definitely see a guy who's certainly getting older. I would say he's not quite of retired, probably in his 50s, late 50s or so. You can see he's a little out of shape, balding here and there. His posture is a little kind of uneven at times. You can tell that even though he is balding, the hair that he does have is sort of toughing out messily here and there, and his sideburns can certainly use a trim as well. But other than that, he's very clean shaven, like the cheeks, the chin, etc. He seems to kind of keep it, and you can tell that he's almost putting effort into kind of keeping himself sitting up in a proper right. And as you swing around and a few of you sit down, he's kind of nods at you all. And he kind of looks up at Dr. Keaton, confused at this point. Dr. Keaton, now, Douglas, I'd like to introduce you to a handful of folks here who, they've. Did you tell him about the Walter Winston letters? I'm trying to remember. Did you all actually let him know that that's what led you here?
I'm fairly certain we did, because wasn't he super keen on us being a part of the Winston estate?
Yeah. So we told him explicitly that we were here as a communication between a friend of his,
right,
who we're associates for, and we name dropped Janet Winston Rogers.
Okay.
And he mistook that to mean as a monetary thing with the estate.
Oh, sure. I think considering how you would imagine a lot of the letters here are monitored. It's not like they come freely, so he probably would have picked up on the name to begin with. All right. So if that's the case, he says, now, Douglas, I hope you're having a fine day. We've got some visitors for you who want to speak with you. Now, they have, I believe, they have some sort of association with an acquaintance of yours, Mr. Walter Winston. I believe might have been read some of that correspondence. He kind of looks at you all, then he looks at Douglas. You can tell Keaton knows about the letters, but he's letting either you or Douglas kind of take the lead on admitting to it and everything. Kind of looking back and forth.
And Beverly
If-
would nod and agree.
Excellent. And so Douglas at that point like looks up. You Walter sent you?
Well, Walter has passed,
Well,
so we're here in his stead. Southern accents are contagious.
I know. I read about that. If you all are in association with his daughter, with little Janet,
Yes, we
if you
are.
all could extend my sympathies to her. I didn't think it. My last letter that I wrote, I didn't realize that he had passed. So I feel somewhat sheepish, you might say, in contacting her again. But when you next speak with her, just extend my sympathies. Her father was a great man. He was a man I admired significantly. And you hear Dr. Keaton like kind of interject that, like, yes, indeed. When you speak to Miss Winston Rogers, there you tell all about how you were able to kind of speak and just the wonders of the Joy Grove Santana and what wonderful work we're doing with Douglas Henslow down here, kind of injecting here and there. There's like salesmanship. There's like the salesman attitudes kind of coming in.
Oh, yes, of course. Oh, yes, absolutely. And Marie will play right into that.
And he so like Douglas Henslow like, did you all read my letters?
Yes, I did. And I was hoping to get your written permission to enter your home.
Well, I suppose that's something we can talk about. I think. Might I inquire as to your intentions?
We just really want to get to get a sense of just all of the things that you and Mr. Winston went through. It sounds like there's just such a story there.
So
and
you can see like he gets kind of like his face almost brightens a touch as you say that. Like, go ahead,
and I believe full introductions are in order. My name is Dr. Beverly Key. I'm a doctor of anthropology.
Doctor.
These are my associates. And then she'll point to Marie.
Yes, Marie Wynn. Very nice to make your acquaintance.
Pleasure indeed.
This is my assistant. Points to Shima.
Ma'am. Very respectful.
And then this is Mr. Pastor Wood.
You can see
Pastor Wood is just fine.
He reaches out a
Much
hand
obliged.
to shake your hand. He's like, pleasure to meet you, Pastor.
I'll shake his hand, yeah.
And he shakes his hand. One thing you notice as you shake his hand, like his cuticles are like he's definitely a guy who like bites on his fingers, and you can see those little tiny little cuts and things where he just rips them apart. It just his fingertips look pretty terrible. Well, I suppose if y'all are looking to get into investigate and get to the bottom of things, I suppose I can help you out. I can. Kind of looks over sidelong at Dr. Keaton, who at this point has kind of slid his chair a little bit further away from the table, and he's like pulled out like some documents and is almost kind of half paying attention. You kind of get the sense like he's heard all this before and it just doesn't really interest him as much, but he's also taking occasional notes every now and then. Like, I've been telling Dr. Keaton here and Dr. Teak and some of the other folks around here and about my story for a while now, and no one believes me. Is what it is. They not. Dr. Keaton specifically says that something might have happened, but it doesn't quite appreciate the specificity of it. You understand? And
we certainly do not have the training that the good doctor has, but definitely good stories are definitely worthwhile, especially for folks that have lost family members and are looking to really understand those that are not with us anymore.
Kind of nods at this point.
Jeff, I have a question about the
Sure.
setting. Is Dr. Keaton the only person from the sanitarium like in the room, or are there basically
There's an
are
orderly
there
right outside
orderlies?
the door.
Is he being treated like someone who gets violent?
You see, there was an orderly when you walked into a room that was just sort of in there with him until somebody else came, and then once Dr. Keaton he left. No, it doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. Dr. Keaton's
chill.
not.
Like the vibe's pretty chill.
Pretty chill. Like
Okay.
Like you can tell that there was sort of a tension, but then when you guys mentioned that you wanted to help, when you mentioned Walter, you could see he kind of brightened up a little bit at that point.
No, the reactions to the conversation for sure, but just I thank you for answering the question. It was really just like, how are they treating him?
Sure.
So Patrick, would we say that you would have like come back at some point, or would you have wanted to stay away?
I want to kind of snoop around the facility, maybe sneak into his office a bit.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, we can totally do that. Let's we're gonna come back to that. We'll probably do a little bit of the conversation, but we'll say you come down in the cafeteria, you get kind of fixed up. The nurse kind of makes sure you're okay at a certain point, and then she's like, "Well, if you don't mind, Mr. Price, you have a free run cafeteria. If there's anything else you need, just go talk to one of the cook staff up there, and any place in the first level or the second level, you're welcome to go up to the common room. There's an entertainment room down the hall if you want to watch one. I don't know if they have anything going on right there, but otherwise, if you're interested in returning to the interview room, just let me know and I can escort you there. But if you need to take a breather, I can completely understand. Very traumatic experience. It was very traumatic.
Much appreciated. I'm feeling better already.
No, that's fantastic. Now, if you don't mind, I do need to return to my duties at the front desk, if that's all right. And if you need anything at all, you just come fetch me, okay?
I got you.
And she like leaves you at this point. You got a big old thing of tea, maybe like a piece of pie or something, like this big old thing of like pecan pie that she's just they're feeding you like, don't sue us. It's basically what's happening. Okay. So
the good pie they were keeping for themselves.
The good pie, yeah. So we'll cut back.
Liability pie.
Liability pie. Fantastic. Okay. So Douglas Henslow's like, so all of you have read all my letters and all sorts of things, and I imagine, well, if you're interested in no one really listens to me around here anymore. It might be nice to have some new ears and some of the stories that
absolutely we
waxing on.
Traveled all the way here. Of course, we want to hear.
Yeah,
all
we
of the
would love
details
to
of the story.
hear your stories, and then if we have additional questions, if you wouldn't mind answering them.
Yes, yeah, and he's almost confused. He's like stunned to this confusion that someone's actually like paying attention to him, like caring, you know. The only time he kind of gets a little like edgy is when someone interrupts him, like he's halfway through a sentence, and he's like, kind of looks up, but then it fades quickly. He's like, well, I suppose I should tell you about 1924, right? That's why you're here, isn't it?
Correct, Los Angeles?
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, we were traveling the country for a little while, you know. We were kind of hot on the trail. This, a cult, you can call it, kind of started all this. We were like questioning people and gathering evidence, taking pictures, that sort of thing. Traveling all over, really. I never traveled so much in my life. We were basically like detectives, armed with, we got this little secret knowledge, and let's just call for what it is, you know, the occult, supernatural, that sort of thing. And you can hear, some of you who are a little bit more perceptive, you just hear like a little bit of air come out from Dr. Keaton's mouth as he like lets out a breath, but he's holding in kind of a sigh. He's like, but Douglas doesn't really seem to like take the bait. He's like, it was an exciting time. I'm not really ashamed to say, but basically we were following the drugs all the way across the country, you know, until we got to Los Angeles, like you said, and that's where the bulk of the investigation took place. You know, that's where everything terrible happened. Is sort of what it is. I imagine y'all are familiar with Janet and Walter Winston's young girl, but y'all familiar with Walter too much?
Not
very
closely.
much.
Patrick Price, he's also with us. He's very familiar, but unfortunately, he's resting at this time.
Well, I understand. Walter Winston, you see, he was a self-made man. He was a businessman. Got his start in pharmacist and such. He was a good man. Got people drugs and medicines, treating ailments, tonics, tinctures, that sort of thing. Kept opening up corner drugstores and such around the country. Made good money, and he made it himself. Not like my family, they kind of inherited it here and there, but he did it all himself. And I mean, for all intents and purposes, Walter was our leader. You know, he was in charge. He was the one we went to, made the decisions, that sort of thing. He was the one who got to put it all together, gathered us all, kind of the battle that, the perversity in the world that the cult was representing. And thankfully he funded us too, because I know my family probably couldn't handle it. But in short, he was a very good man, the best of men.
I'm sorry. Could I interrupt real quick? You said gathered us all, so it was not just the two of you.
I'm trying to tell a story, if that's all right.
Yes,
I
was
apologize because you hear Dr. Keaton go like Douglas. You think, yeah, I apologize, ma'am. But what was your question?
Yes, you mentioned all of us, and I was wondering how many of you were on these travels.
Well, and there was me, and there was Walter, and then there was there's Catherine Clark. She was a sharp girl. That one. She was our archivist, camera woman. A couple of us know how to use camera, but the way she used it is like an art form, and she kept all the records and such. And she was just driven girl, She just truly hated that something like a cult like this could just sort of operate in secret right in the dark, right there underneath everyone's noses, and that people would just cover up something so vile, instead of revealing it for what it was. She always used to talk about how you look at a photograph, it reveals the truth, whatever that means. I don't think I was ever smart enough to understand it or her really, to be honest. But anyhow, she was the one who she got close enough basically to get all them photographs, and she's also the one who got caught wind of what was happening that night in 24, when all of it went down. And she died that night. Yeah.
Oh dear, I'm so very sorry.
Ma'am. Douglas, now please be kind. Yes, doctor. And just in the gathering, there was FC Coleman. He was Walter's expert in the occult. You see, Walter, he dabbled a bit and he was learning, understanding more and more. He could absorb basically anything. Man, he had a mind that was just like a sponge, But it was Coleman, FC. He's the one, He knew it. He knew the books, right? Anyhow, he was known far and wide apparently back then. I don't really understand those circles, but back in the day, he had a name. But Walter got him, recruited him, had to pay him a fair bit of money, I think, to come out with us to Los Angeles, as I recall anyway. FC was a bit of a stick in the mud too, He as bright as can be, but stuck in a wheelchair too. But he didn't let that slow him down. Can-do attitude, that kind of fella. Yeah, he died too. Anyhow, so yeah, it was us. It was me and Walter and Catherine and FC. We were going around like a little detective squad, hunting down this cult and their drugs and their depravity and all sorts of things, making sure all of it gets got taken care of. And then that night in 24 happened. And not that some people don't want to admit actually happened. Some people in this room suggest maybe the things I'm saying aren't exactly accurate, but I digress. So anyhow, Catherine, she got caught. She caught wind. You see, something was going down, and that bunch of them cultists were meeting up out there at that barn, and that's never a good thing when all of them get together like that. And then Walter said something about the stars being right, whatever that means. So we rushed out there, guns, homemade fire bombs. We can put a stop to it. We can save the world. That's what we can do. And a lot of people died that night. A lot of people. Catherine, FC. There was a fire, horrific fire. I didn't know fire could burn that hot. There's a shootout. When that... He takes like a deep breath. And when that thing appeared, started tearing people apart. Well, people were just running and they were screaming. They were just throwing themselves into the fire, and they were throwing themselves into the line of fire, and I know I shot some people that night. I probably killed them. But that's when that thing kind of started coming for us, you see. And that's when I saw it, I saw Walter panic. I ain't never seen him panic before. I never seen him indecisive either. He panicked a little bit, and all I knew at that point is I was running. I was bolting through the high grasses, fire behind me, like a coward. Just put a name on it. Like a goddamn coward. You hear Dr. Keaton like, no. Douglas, what I tell you about taking the Lord's name? I'm sorry, Doctor. Anyhow. Well, that's the long and short of it, at least. That's the basics. Man.
Well, I'm so
Pastor.
very sorry to hear that you sound like you lost some good people that night.
I did. Worrell did. It was tough. Definitely tough. Better people than me, really.
Oh, well, I mean, it sounds like you were all out there and you had work to do and you were doing that work. I missed, I think I might have missed a little bit of the detail. You mentioned that there was something that was just so dangerous. I think I missed what that was exactly.
The thing?
Yes.
Whatever they were summoning or something. Whatever it was. I didn't stay. Okay. I didn't have to see all of it. I just had to see a tiny bit of it. And I heard the screams and no, I don't. You see him like start to like shiver, sort of shaking, and no. They were depraved. Depraved, them folks. They were that cult. They just whatever wicked god they were worshiping, fornicating in its name. We got pictures, man. They did it in groups. Drugs. Oh, so many drugs I never even heard of. They used to hurt each other for sport, They were monsters. And they were monsters. And then that thing, that was a monster. That was a monster. Kind of just like stares down into the table.
Yeah. Mr. Henslow.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you mind telling me about the event that you had with Mr. Job?
You see, he kind of gets a little. It's like his hands kind of flex a bit. Yeah, he's one of them.
He was part
one
of
of them.
The cult?
Yeah, he was. And came around, wanted to make amends, apologize, whatever it might be. Guess whatever it is keeps me up at night, is keeping him up at night too. Well, I didn't want to hear none of it. I still don't want to hear none of it. And he just didn't take no. And I said respectfully, asked him to step out of my way, came harassing Carruthers at the house, and found me in town. Maybe I lost my temper, but I didn't want to hear none of it. Now they say I'm a danger to folk, danger to myself. Can't be leaving this place now. From what I hear, neither can he. So I guess that's all right.
Concerning that night in 1924, the night in Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
How did Mr. Winston conduct himself upon that night?
What do you mean? He was
You said you ran away. Was he there through the entire incident?
Well, sir, I can't testify to events that happened after my departure. I've already regretted most of my life, the last, must have been 12 years already. Last 12 years I've been regretting running. But, no, things were just, it's chaos, sir. It's just chaos. It's evil. It's just all manner of it. Cult folk were just screaming out like ecstasy, fear, all at the same time. Yeah. Walter, when we got there, he was just like the rest of them. Oh, Vinny too. Forgot about. Yeah, he was a tough son of a bitch, Mr. Stack. Anyhow, he, well, I mean, we got all loaded to bear, and we came running in, and and then once the thing showed up, I mean, I'd say all hell broke loose, but I don't even know if that thing's of hell. How did he comport himself? Professionally, until events removed any ability to be professional, and then we all just panicked.
You said you all were researching a cult. What was the name of this cult?
Didn't really have a name. Not that we ever learned, anyhow. A lot of it was in Los Angeles. We knew a lot of it had to do with a fellow by the name of Echevarria, I think. Yeah. We just call it that. As people. Not all these things.
Do you believe there's a chance that this organization still exists?
Oh, I can tell you it almost certainly still going on since we failed. Point blank, we failed.
You said Mr. Job came to apologize to you, so that means that they're aware of your identity. Do you believe that Miss Janet Winston could also possibly be in danger?
I think we're all in danger. I mean, what they brought up, what their intentions were, what they were spreading, it's been unchecked for 12 years. Ain't been no one else doing it. Ain't been no one else doing what we tried to do. Is she in danger? Maybe. But all of us are, I think. All of us are.
You said you had pictures.
Well, I got some things. Yeah, I got. Kind of looks at you all. You're taking up the mantle. You can see it through. You can get to the bottom of this. You can make sure that, well, whatever was going on, it ain't going on no more. I'm going to hold you to that.
But of course.
Marie, roll a charm test.
Okay. $21 under 70.
Wow, hard success. Well, I got a few things here and there. I got this notebook hidden away back at my home. It's got it's got a little secret key, you could say, to understand a little bit more of what's going on, or at least what was going on back then. And
when he says secret key, Beverly kind of winks at him just to
kind of looks
imply
at you strangely.
that if it's like a cartography, like a secret thing, she's got it.
Cryptography?
Or cryptography, yeah.
Yeah, he kind of looks at you. He kind of like gives you a weird look, looks over at Dr. Keaton, who hasn't really been paying attention. Well, anyhow, if you want to know where it is, ask, and he kind of chuckles, ask Francis Hickory back at my estate. And I do remember putting some material, safe deposit box out in Los Angeles. Oh man, what the hell was that called? What was that bank's called? Winston, Walter, you'd already left town, and all the others will, you know. What was it called? Venice Beach? First Bank of Long Beach. First Bank of Long Beach. You head on out there, you find some stuff.
And is the key for this at your home?
Like I said, ma'am, just gonna have to ask old Francis.
Okay. And then that's when Beverly slides across the table to him. It's basically a pre-written letter stating that he grants permission for us to visit his home and gather these items.
Man, that's all fine and good, but there ain't no way Carruthers is gonna take this unless it's in my handwriting. So he flips it all over.
Yeah.
And he starts writing out a note, basically, and signs it. And yeah, like you get a little note that is specifically directed to C. Just says, "These people are investigating my case and looking after my well-being while I remain in hospital. Please grant them a pleasant welcome and full run of the grounds and mansion while they conduct their investigation. Any cooperation you can offer would be much appreciated. Give my love to Mother. Truly, Douglas H."
I try to lighten the mood a little bit. That man Carruthers, he's a stubborn sort. How'd you manage to find a man so loyal?
Well, his father was loyal, and his father too. Carruthers and the Henslows, well, we've been intertwined for a while now. We do right by them, they do right by us, and that's supposed to be how the world works. Some of us still
He certainly
that.
seemed to have your family's best interests in mind.
He looks after Mama. Yes, she does.
And the dogs are loyal as well. And Marie will sort of point to Seamus dog bite on her hand. This is our outcome of attempting to make our acquaintance known before meeting with you.
Well, yeah, that sounds about right. I don't even know the last time I saw them pups was about 4 years ago when I was out last. They must be a hell of a lot bigger now.
Oh, yes, indeed. Quite.
Yeah.
And she kind of looks over to Shima.
Yeah.
Just kind of uncomfortably trying to hide her embarrassment.
Mr.
Yeah.
Henslow, is your mother the hospitable sort? If we came to visit, would she be willing to speak with us about your case as well?
My mother don't know nothing about nothing. She don't know nothing about this. and I would very much like to keep it that way. She's a sweet woman. And
Well, understood then.
time has done a number on her faculties. And I certainly haven't been helping things much.
What about Mr. Carruthers? Does he know anything about your case?
I haven't shared any of the details about what I saw, what I did. I'm sure they knew they saw me traveling away from home, that sort of thing. But they didn't know much more detail beyond that. I certainly hope not.
Thank you. I do believe then we'll get our answers from old Francis Hicker, right?
Yes, sir.
Who is Francis Hickory?
Do you ask that out loud?
Yes.
He turns to Dr. Keaton and is like, Doctor, I think I'm getting kind of tired. He's like, well, all right then. And like, just kind of like blows past the question. He's like, all right then, folks, I think we've kept Mr. Henslow long enough. I think you've gotten everything you need. So when you speak with Miss Winston Rogers, you can tell her that we were more than willing to sort of make arrangements. And he kind of knocks on the door at this point. One of the orderlies comes in and kind of helps escort Henslow out. Kind of looks back to you all. And he's like, Francis Hicker. And then the door gets kind of closed behind. Now, I imagine y'all are probably a little bit hungry and such.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset him.
Oh, don't worry about it too much there. No. It's not. It's all fine. It's fine. These fellas, Shama, I'm gonna tell you, they have just you never quite know what's gonna set them off sometimes. We do study it, and a few things, certain subject matter, of course. I don't think he was too upset, nothing. Just he's a little fickle, a little bit here and there. But I must say, that is the happiest and kindest and the least bitter I've seen Mr. Henslow in quite some time. It was very kind of y'all to indulge him in his little storytelling. So, as you all know, I'm sure there was some sort of bit of violence that he suffered through, but some of these stories are a bit fanciful, as you might understand.
Trauma does sometimes stay in the memory in quite a weird way to protect themselves.
Very well said, Doctor. Very well said. Now,
could I impose upon you a visit with Mr. Job?
Mr. Job, well, I suppose that's something we could arrange. Absolutely. I'll tell you this, I got a few more patients to see. Let me go ahead and we'll get you on down, it seems about lunchtime. He kind of pulls out a little watch. He's like, oh, look at that. Let's get you all something to eat, get a little refresher, reunite with your Mr. Price friend of yours, and I'll go see if we can get Mr. Job all situated. That sounds good to y'all?
Wonderful.
Absolutely. And after that interview with Mr. Job, I suppose we could discuss a little bit with Mr. Price. He's quite close with Miss Winston Rogers, and he has a bit of sway over her charitable choices. I think we could talk with you a bit.
Well, that is wonderful to hear, sir. Thank you, Pastor. And you can tell, like, he kind of looks at you like you guys are speaking the same language right now. And and so you guys effectively get sort of escorted out of the room through the common area, kind of back out front, and then eventually kind of you'll weave your way down into that cafeteria. However, we'll figure out where Patrick Price is because he might not actually be there. Let's touch in with Long. So Long, last we saw Patrick, he was in the cafeteria. He had some sweet tea, had a piece of pie, he had a little bandage around his arm. And he was left to his own devices. So what does Patrick Price do?
I'm going to enjoy this nice slice, wave to the staff, give them a nice kindly goodbye.
Sure.
And head up into the faculty.
Okay.
How to make my way towards the office.
Okay, so you recall when you first entered in, and like right when you come in the sanitarium itself, right when you come in Joy Grove, there's that kind of big old reception desk. It's where you met Bethany May. And you saw there a handful of hallways that kind of go this way or that, a couple offices and such. She had to kind of walk a little bit of the ways down one of them. Still was sort of an earshot, slightly if you talk loud enough, but just out of eye line of the reception desk. So you kind of have a vague idea of where Dr. Keaton's office is or where Dr. Keaton was. So when you go back up the stairs, you can tell that all around you, the hustle and bustle of Dry Grove, it's middle of the day. Plenty of people here. You're not the only ones visiting folk. There are some people who are actually here visiting loved ones and such. You can see that there's doctors, nurses, orderlies moving about. Plenty of folk that are out of their rooms, kind of going through various treatments, or they are in like the cafeteria as they kind of come in waves, or they're going to the entertainment room or the common room. So like, there's definitely a decent amount of activity in the area here and there. So Patrick, your goal is to get into the office. So walk me through, what's your strategy? How do you go about doing it?
Just gonna walk like I belong and try to avoid any nurses or orderly if they're on the move. Try to time my movements with theirs.
Okay. I'll tell you what. Go ahead. So you're specifically trying to get into the office. Go ahead and I'll say, give me a stealth test. We'll start there. And stealth is really just sort of, I'm using it to blend in as much as it is. Or if you prefer disguise, by the way, that could work too. Like disguise is, I think of disguise more of like you're physically changing your appearance, but this could also be just you grabbing a coat or something like that. So if you prefer that, that's okay too.
My disguise is horrible, so I went with stealth. Regular success, 34.
Okay. So
Nice.
you do manage to sort of put yourself, kind of blend in a bit here and there. Again, like you saw other folk. There's other folk in plain clothes. There's plenty of folks who's got like white coats on. You can see nurses' outfits, orderly outfits, things like that. But there's plenty of regular looking folk, and you're moving about in a manner that suggests you're supposed to be here. And you don't think you're in an area where it's sort of restricted. You do know that there is a third floor of the sanitarium, but that is restricted. That tends to be sort of like isolation and various like treatment rooms and things like that, where it's just not part of the tour. And first floor, second floor kind of had some places you can go. First floor had a lot of business and offices and things like that, but there's some places you can go and then down to the cafeteria. So you manage to get up from the stairs and you kind of just slink past as like you see this group of people are like at the reception desk talking to Bethany May. Nurse Bethany, kind of keeping her a little bit busy, and you take that opportunity to just very carefully, very smoothly slink on past. And at one point where her eye line might have been linked into yours, you time it so perfectly that her head turns around and she grabs one of them forms that she had you all sign, and you take that moment to do that last bit of quick walking, fast walking to get to the other hallway, and you've made it across the reception desk. Now, the office itself, you can tell that there's like one of those like kind of frosted windows, and you can see like this little etching into the glass itself. It says, Dr. Keaton, etc. It also says, like across in like kind of catty corners, an office for Dr. Teague as well, and so you can see some other names popping up here and there. Go ahead, give me a locksmithing test. I assume locksmithing because you don't want to probably break the glass or anything like that.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. As it is, when you reach and turn your hand on the knob, you realize it is in fact locked. All right.
That is terrible. 79
You tried
fail.
locksmithing with the 21 in locksmithing.
Pretty good.
Do
Appreciate it.
you want to spend luck?
I don't have enough luck to reduce.
Fair.
Spent it all on a hotel room.
He did. He really did. I love that so much. All right. So, Call of Cthulhu, you can push your roll. So, we don't do it too often, but you can absolutely push. So basically what you're doing is you explain how you're kind of altering your approach, or you're doing something just a little bit different, or even if it's just like extra effort, or if you just learned something, or if you're getting a different tool out, whatever it might be. There's a little bit of time that's passing. So it's not like you're re-rolling it. You're just trying it again is basically what's happening. It could be a couple seconds later. It could be a couple hours. In this case, it'll be more like seconds or minutes maybe. Now, the danger here is that if you push, something potentially bad can happen. Right. So right now you failed. You weren't able to pick the lock, but nothing more terrible than that is transpiring. But you certainly could push. It's up to you.
On the push roll, am I able to spend luck as well?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna push then. See what
Double
happens.
check that.
Okay.
I'm just
We
gonna
got
double check
boost.
that just to be sure.
I'm gonna spend 1.
It doesn't say, I don't have it in my notes that you can't. It just says you can't push a luck roll. I don't see anything else about luck when it comes to
Okay.
it. So if I'm wrong, whatever, we'll figure it out later. But for now, this is what we're doing.
Yeah, because I think the system is basically just saying that like something is going to go awry because you pushed it one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Going for
Oh my.
31 success.
Okay. 15.
Nice.
Very nice. So you start tinkering with the lock, and I don't even know if you have locksmith tools. Maybe
I
just
pull out
have
my little
like,
barbershop knife.
very nice. I like it. Okay.
Whoa.
So you got like these, like almost like a little, like a shaver, like a blade, right?
Yeah.
And so you start kind of fiddling around with it, and you realize like this isn't working. You need something smaller. You need something finer. And so you hear the sounds of like voices coming past, and you do that kind of classic whirl around and just kind of lean up against the corner and like just sort of think it off in the distance. No one really pays you any mind. Maybe even someone just gives you like, sir, afternoon, as they pass on by. You hear the group that Bethany May was dealing with, Nurse Bethany, are getting taken care of. And it sounds like she's talking to a couple of the other nurses and such here and there, and they kind of get into a conversation. You take that opportunity to slink on back, kind of go through your things here and there, maybe find like a paper clip or something, and you get in there, mess around a bit, and suddenly you just hear a pop. You open the door and you slide on in, and you have access to Dr. Keaton's office. Now, the office itself, it's very professional looking. You can tell large desk, seating area. So it's not in like big leather desks, bookshelves and such behind him. It has this sort of very grand, it has the feeling of an authority. There's a little reading area off in the corner where there's like a big old lamp that's next to it. But right now you don't really need it, as there's so much beautiful light coming in from outdoors. It's just sort of covered. There's basically nowhere to hide right now, as it's very bright in here. But you can see that there's plenty of shelves, plenty of drawers, his desk, all these types of things in here. So what would you like to do, Patrick?
Yeah, I'd like to rifle through files, books, papers, maybe find a journal, some sort of entries on Douglas if possible.
Okay. Let's see. I'll tell you what, give me, depending on what you roll, you might get one thing or another. So some things that you could potentially do, and you can kind of figure this out. You can roll something like an accounting roll. You can do something like a psychology roll. You could do something like a medicine or pharmacy roll. You could also do like just a pure straight up intelligence roll as well, as you're kind of going through these things.
Psychology is pretty good for me. I'll go with that.
Okay, give it a rip, man.
A 5. That's
This guy.
that's
Under
a-
75. Holy
Extreme
crap, Lon.
success. Well done. All right, you said you're specifically looking for stuff on Douglas. Is that what I heard?
Yeah,
Okay.
specifically.
All right, so you start kind of going through. You got patient files, you got these drawers, you got flip through, and you do in fact pull out basically a patient's file for Douglas Henslow. So it's a D Henslow, right? You start reading through it, and you extreme success. I'm going to give you a couple different things. So first of all, you notice that there's essentially a treatment list of all the different treatments that Douglas Henslow has been given. Some of it's like pharmaceutical and such here and there, and some of it's more therapeutic in a particular way. One of the labels, one of the things that pops up quite a bit is a phrase called confrontational therapy. And you specifically see like things that it's allowing interactions only when medicated. You see that there's a note more than sort of vague like recollections of anger and such like that. And so like there's notes in these margins, like any reminder of the farm or August 13th causes violent outbursts from DH directed towards EJ. You also notice that there was another entry from 1934 about an unmedicated confrontational therapy. Most of the confrontational therapy has been medicated, but there was one note about a 1934 session where EJ rushed to DH screaming, "You tried to kill me, but I'm still here," over and over and over. Now, so that's sort of what you see in terms of treatment. You do get all sorts of information about the medication he's taken. I don't think psychology is going to necessarily give you that the knowledge of it, but I'll say you at least have it in the back of your mind. If you want to rip a medicine or a pharmacy to see if you know it off the top of your head, that's fine. Or we can do it later if you want to look them up later. Do you want to give it a go?
Trying to see what my stats are on those. Oh, it's a 1. Not terrible. I mean, it's free. I can give it a try.
It's a medicine or pharmacy I would take. So either one.
What is pharmacy under?
I think pharmacy is a science.
Okay, I don't have that.
Okay, so then roll. You can roll medicine, and then maybe you
Let's
get really good.
Beautiful one.
Yeah, you never know. You can roll really well. Maybe spend some luck. 74 is
that's-
nowhere close.
What
Okay.
are these?
You make a mental note of what the names of the various medications are, but you probably don't necessarily know them off top of your head. You do know that they were using them at a certain point. They were only using them in association with that confrontation therapy. Other things you've noticed is you get the sense, like you see these notes in some of the patient files that Dr. Keaton seems to be taking. You get the sense he might be writing a book, like about these shared delusions and the psychosis that Douglas Henslow and Edgar Job seem to have. And like there's like a section where like you see him almost writing to himself, like where it's just like DH and EJ chapter and book. Could this be my glimpse of madness chapter? Like he's like kind of writing this down here and there. And I would say the other thing you notice is, and you're specifically looking just for Douglas Henslow. Okay, that's probably it with that. Roll an accounting test if you like, as you do also see a couple other notes here and there.
Okay, we'll give it a roll.
Yeah, give
What's
it
your
a go.
accounting law?
With a 10, or 20, if I spend 10 luck, it is a success.
Yeah, you gonna do it?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay.
Nice.
One of the things you notice, and this kind of gets your eyebrows raised a little bit. You can see that Douglas Henslow, the estate, they're not just paying for his own treatment, but also seems to be paying for Edgar Job's. You said 20 on 20. Yeah, it does seem like the Henslow estate, whatever funds are going towards Douglas Henslow's treatments, they also seem to be paying for Edgar Job's.
Interesting. Okay, I'll get all that information
Okay.
as best I can.
All right. And so at some point later, you might be able to do like a retroactive medicine or pharmacy, or someone else can do it at some point. It's fine. Or you can just look it up later. But for now, you've kind of pushed your luck and pushed, like you hear voices outside here. Maybe you even hear like the voice of Dr. Keaton, like down the hall. Well, hey there, Bethany, may we go ahead and we finished up old Douglas Henslow. I think they're going to go ahead and want to interview Mr. Job as well. Where'd you put old Mr. Price? I hear, and like you kind of overhear, like he's the one apparently who has a very fine relationship with Miss Janet Winston Rogers. So let's make sure we treat him with the utmost care, And you hear like, I gave him a piece of pie and he just wasn't I was being all sweet on him. I was fluttering my eyelids and such. He didn't seem to care at all. And like you hear this little outside, and that's when you slip on out and you just kind of wander into the receptionist area, and they're like, oh, Mr. Price, well, there you are. We were just talking about you. I imagine your ears were burning.
Oh, yes, I was about to head up.
Oh, well, wonderful. Well, we had a very productive conversation with Mr. Henslow. I am sure your compatriots will tell you everything about it. And as I'm sure you would, whenever you're ready to debrief Mrs. Winston Rogers there, you can tell that we have been more than accommodating. Now, how is your arm healing? You feeling all right? Is there anything else we can get you? Maybe a small painkiller, something like that?
Now that you mention it, it's kind of aching a bit.
And it is. And when you peel back, you notice like it's bruising pretty bad. Well, I'm sure we can take care of that just fine. No problem. Nurse Bethany, can you go ahead and take Mr. Price down and get him a little something to make that little ouchie go away. Thank you very much. And go ahead and bring him over onto interview room 2. And I'll bring the rest of his friends over in a moment. And we'll go ahead and we'll get on started with Mr. Job as well. So at that point, Patrick Price gets led away. And we will pick it back up down in the cafeteria, where we see Pastor Wood, Marie, Shaima, Dr. Key. See, the 4 of you sans Patrick, who is currently on his, unbeknownst to you all, his little mission upstairs. But the 4 of you right now are been eating lunch. You've been given a sort of your own little private place to sit. Like you're not sitting like amongst other patrons and things like that. You got your own little table and you're sitting there and you're eating. And to be honest, like it's actually a surprisingly, surprisingly good food that you're getting. Like this is, despite the fact that this is a sanitarium, right? But you find yourselves kind of sitting around. Maybe you're kind of going over like everything that you just talked about when it comes to Douglas Henzo. But you're all sitting around. You're drinking your sweet tea or your water. Very, very good lunch. Now, Pastor Wood, as the conversation's continuing, as everyone's talking here and there, kind of questioning what this means, maybe y'all are trying to figure out who the hell Francis Hickering is, you find that your mind, Pastor Wood, and your gaze kind of drifting away a little bit from your companions and up towards a particularly nasty bit of water damage on a nearby wall near the ceiling. Just kind of looking up here and there. And the chatter in the cafeteria just starts to fade and fade as you start to focus more and as your eyes start to squint. And you watch as a darkened patch suddenly splits, forming what looks like a human-sized mouth with jaundiced lips and these brown, broken teeth. It seems to move about, forming like inaudible words. And just as you shift, maybe to stand up, maybe to speak, the mouth shuts and vanishes. Pastor Wood, go ahead and roll a sand test for me.
Oh boy. Sanity is 60. Come on, North Foundry dice. 25.
Okay. All right. Keeping it together. What do you do? What do you do with that?
I think I would keep staring. Pull my hat off for a second, start scratching. What the good Lord? You see that? I don't even care who's next to me. I would just turn to the person next to me and ask if they saw that.
Beverly looks up. Pastor Wood, that is water damage. And then she goes right back to her food and just keeps eating.
I could see it's water damage, but there's something. I haven't seen spirits like this since I was south of the border.
I doubt it's spirits. I know you're a religious
The
man.
devil is at work.
The devil isn't real.
Oh, the devil is quite real, I assure you.
It's probably, honestly, mold. I was reading a paper about the negative effects that mold can have upon the human brain, and it can't cause visions.
The only thing you need to be reading is the good book.
I've read it prior, but I have found research papers to be much more mentally stimulating.
So I'm sorry. What is being observed here? We have this water stain. Yes, Marie's trying to cut the tension a little bit.
So
Beverly
Marie, if you look up in the direction of where Pastor's eyes gaze, you see that there's this sort of dark section of the wall just underneath the ceiling, peeling paint. There's like crumbling plaster. And it certainly looks like water damaged. And you can see there's some substance on, maybe it's the plaster mixing with like the water damage, whatever it might be. But that's what you see when you just sort of look up. It's maybe, 7-8 feet from the table where you're sitting.
And she'll look back to Pastor Wood and you saw something over there?
Indeed, I saw the work of the devil.
Is there something like a chair or something closer to there that I might be able to kind of go over and take a closer look?
You're sitting on one right now at the cafeteria. But you
so
can drag one over. Yeah. You drag a chair over. You stand on top, look much closer.
I would go with her. I'd give her a hand as she gets up.
Sure. You notice.
Thank you kindly.
it smells really bad. Like it smells dank. And there's like a stickiness to it as well. And as you're close, Marie, and you're looking at it, you realize like in the plaster itself, like the stuff that's still in decent shape here and there, or it's still kind of maintaining its structure, you can see these symbols that are kind of etched into it here and there, kind of marks, kind of painted or etched into it using the material, like the damaged material, almost like a pigment. Do you have any like thing like occult or anthropology or anything like that?
Nope. 5 and a 1.
All right, so you see these symbols, and they're very clearly symbols. Like somebody has etched them in, or they've painted them in using that sort of water damaged residue, almost as paint.
Miss Oberon, you always have a notebook on you. Might you be able to come take note of this?
The second she is called over, she's sort of waiting for it to be appropriate to go over, and she goes over.
I imagined her kind of like a golden retriever. She's physically vibrating with excitement.
She is.
The table is just shaking.
Call me, someone call me.
When she gets up and goes, like her strength is so much, she just accidentally throws the table across the room. In her excitement.
Beverly's just holding on for dear life.
Huge screech of the table and her chair on the floor as she gets up.
Marie will kind of hold her hand down to kind of help Miss Oberon up on the chair to kind of get a closer look.
Okay. She takes her hand, and as she does, she kind of is a little weirdly, and there's a flicker of discomfort that passes across her face that just doesn't let stay. But I feel like Stacey May is definitely like perceptive and intuitive enough to have caught it.
Sure. Oh, your balance is okay. You're doing just fine here. And she'll kind of take your elbow and just kind of make sure you're there. There you go. Got your 2 feet straight.
What am I looking at?
I'm not sure, but you always have that notebook, and this seems like something that we might just want to take note of, since Pastor Wood there saw something here. It does look interesting, does it not?
She looks up. Are the rooms anything like she has seen in her books at Miss Connick?
Well, let's figure that out. You got an occult or an anthropology roll for us here?
I can give you an occult roll.
That sounds great. Give it a rip.
I would have really one of the things I did want to do earlier was also and I missed taking the note of the name of the cult, but if that is when Hensel named the cult, was that something that registered?
He didn't
have
name
a name.
the cult. They didn't have a name. He just mentioned
It's just
somebody.
the guy.
He mentioned the guy's name. Basically.
The guy's name. Did he say the guy's name? I feel like he said a name and I missed it in writing it down.
That's right.
Okay. Is that someone that registers?
No, it wouldn't none of you would register with.
Okay. Okay, doke. Oh shit! I missed. I missed adding to that.
What's up?
No, I made a mistake on my sheet when I was putting it together. It's not a big deal. I'll fix it later, but for now, my cult is 5, and
you're like, no, it's not. I know. I put more points than that.
It's not supposed to be 5. It's supposed to be like 30 or 40 or some shit.
I mean, the sheet that I have for you has it at 50.
50. Thank you. I obviously have just taken a 0 off by accident. Thank you. 50. Okay. Well, then, because I was going to spread all the luck because I rolled a 30.
Okay, 30 is still a success. So,
nice.
Yeah, you've definitely recognized some of these. It's kind of strange because it's like a mixture of things. Like you don't see like any one particular kind of cultural or sort of folkloric tradition, but you can definitely see that there is a mix of different things. The unifying component isn't so much of where they're from, because it really just seems like a hodgepodge mix of anyone trying to do anything. What unifies them, though, is like these all are symbols from different groups, different cultures, different magical traditions that you maybe have read about in your times in the Miskatonic Library, that are trying to sort of protect from the evil eye, or kind of thwart mystical scrying, or to just sort of generally kind of block vision of something. Now, you are skilled enough in the occult to recognize that this doesn't seem like a spell or anything like that specifically, but more just like a sort of an untrained person who just has like a really very vague and passing understanding, and just sort of like throws stuff together that they saw, and it's almost like vague graffiti in that way, but they all are unified under that concept, like that kind of protective or blocking evil eye kind of thing. Like that is like the unifying.
Is there a sense of where this is in, like, are we under Hansel's room or under the other dude's room?
You are in the basement, so you wouldn't be under a patient room. You would likely be under like offices or the reception room. Like the cafeteria is in like the bowels of the institution. Okay.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if this is a ward, is there something specifically that seems to be being warded? Like, is that something I can tell?
I don't think there's any information that you have other than the fact that it could be the room, right? Like you're in a public. This is a public room. So this, like all of the patients in the entire institution would have access to here, unless they're very specifically like on the third floor with treatment. But all of them would have access to this. So it is a public room.
Pastor, this is more science than art. These are protection symbols from ancient cultures. These are not the work of the devil. These are to prevent the work of the devil.
Do you say ancient cultures?
Dr. Key, maybe you should come take a look. This is this doesn't seem academic, though. This seems like someone who has a passing knowledge.
Well, it certainly seems like we've just spoken to one person that has somewhat passing knowledge, and we might be about to talk to someone else that also has about that knowledge. I am curious, though, about the substance, and so she's gonna kind of
don't. And then as you reach up, she grabs your hand, like, don't.
Knock Marie.
You never know what these are made of. Don't touch it, please. Don't.
Well, I certainly didn't want to disrupt whatever it was, but
no, we just, if it's mold, we just, if you're a manicure,
really
we do our own manicure.
So Marie's just gonna like stick her nose real close to it and see if she can like get a better whiff of what it is, since she has been instructed not to touch.
It is dank, is whatever it is. It is nasty. It smells really bad. It's there's no way visibly to tell what it is, other than maybe just being a combination of the plaster and the water damage and whatever like wallpaper might have been on here kind of merging together in some sort of weird gook. But yeah, there's really nothing else you could probably derive just from that.
Okay. Well, Dr. Key, if you're going to come up here and look at this, I think this chair is getting a bit crowded, so I am going to take my leave. If you would like to join, I will go back.
Is there really anything else that we could attempt to learn from it? Like maybe the origin of the...
No, it's a mix of things. So like your anthropology probably wouldn't, if you rolled anthro, you wouldn't really be getting any information
Okay,
that Shima
yeah.
hasn't already been able to deduce.
At that point, Beverly would just. Shima's very intelligent. I believe she's studied this correctly, I believe.
Oh, okay. And then so Marie will kind of get off the chair and Miss Oberon, are you done? And she'll kind of offer her hand to help Shima down off the chair.
But I just need a moment, and Shama is copying down the runes.
Absolutely. Yeah, no
And
problem.
into her
You know,
notebook.
if this is runes, as you said, I'd be interested to see if they're possibly elsewhere within the building.
I would be I would love to see Douglas Henslow's room. Or actually, Mr. Job might also have this if he was part of that cult.
I don't know if that would be something we would necessarily have access to. If we ask, that seems to
Are
be
we allowed to sneak? Because if we're allowed to sneak, then I've sometimes gotten into places I'm not supposed to have been. Not all the time, just sometimes.
You can also just ask. I mean, just a little
okay.
a wink and a nod can go a long way.
And I will say, at this point, you guys do hear
like
the
that.
voice of Dr. Keaton as it carries. He's not yet in the cafeteria, but you hear him just down the hallway.
Oh, we quickly scramble.
And he's just randomly talking to some other person. Oh, pleasure to see you. Darling, you look just so very lovely today. Did you do something different with your hair? Oh, I think it looks wonderful. What? Well, he is a son of a bitch for not noticing now, isn't he? And then like you hear the doors of the cafeteria kind of open up, and there he is. And you guys have scrambled back to your tables. He's like, oh, well, I hope you've had a delicious lunch. Your compatriot, Mr. Price, we've already, Nurse Bethany has already taken him up. We have Egg of Job ready for you. If you'd like to return to the interview room, I think Mr. Price might be joining us this time around. Now, I have to warn you, Edgar Job, be very careful. Now you approach him. He's at a very fragile state in his therapy, so just be very, very careful in how you kind of approach this here. If you don't mind, you might say some things that might alarm you, as Mr. Henslow did, but just be respectful as always. And after you treat me to Mr. Henslow, I don't even think I need to actually provide you this reminder, but I'm just doing my due diligence as a doctor.
Well, absolutely. And we have every faith in the ability of you and your orderlies to address any situation that might come up while we're interviewing.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Wynn. As I said, our institution is it is one of the finest in the entire country. I can tell you that.
Dr. Keaton, I suppose I'm a slight bit surprised at the state of your institution. As you have said, it's one of the finest in the country, but you have quite a problem with mold over there. It's been there so long that it appears someone has vandalized or marked graffiti on that ceiling.
Well, sir, I do not think that is mold, but that is certainly some water damage. Perhaps that is on one of the public bathrooms up on the first floor. I'll tell you, we have, I'll bring this to the attention of Dr. Teak, but we have limited funding as to what we can do at this institution. If we had potential donors, perhaps, a new influx of funds, I am sure we could get all manner of corrections around here, improvements, better care. We can have better rooms for the various patients, and I am sure it would do wonders on their mental health, indeed.
Better rooms for the patients. What do the rooms look like now? Would we be able to see Mr. Henslow's room? See the conditions that he lives in?
Well, that is a kind of curious request. Do you think this is a necessary element of the report that you're going to be making, of course, to Mrs. Janet Winston Rogers?
Oh, it is quite necessary, as Miss Winston Rogers, she feels fondly for her father's friends. You know, she's in a state of grief, and the well-being of his friends is quite important to her.
Oh, well, sir, then, consider it done. Let's go ahead and commence with this interview, and then immediately afterwards we will see whatever rooms you need to see, and we will be on with our duties now, won't we?
I greatly appreciate it. I do hope that there's no water damage in there as well.
I certainly hope there isn't. If y'all wouldn't mind, and he kind of, at this point, leads you out of the cafeteria. We come wandering back, and eventually you go back to one of the interview rooms. You're again reunited as the door opens up and you see inside there's Patrick freaking Price. You haven't seen him in ages. And all of you are there. And you get, one moment, please. Jeremy, could you please, bring him, Mr. Joe. And then a couple moments kind of go by as you all are together. And then door opens up and you see a new man kind of come in, sit down, smells like cigarette smoke just wandered in. Very kind of a slender looking man. You can see that he is he doesn't look to be in the greatest of health, you would imagine, or at the very least he certainly looks kind of like a fairly pathetic figure. Kind of faint stubble left on his face, a little bit on his scalp. He's got some patchy few strands of hair that are kind of barely clinging on or hanging on here and there. Very pasty complexion. And again, he's just got this immense, like, just aura of cigarettes as he comes in. You can even see in his hand's kind of shaking a little bit, and he's got what looks like a cigarette right in between them. And he's like, hey, Doc, how you doing? Hey, how you doing, Doc? All right. Yeah, they said he said you got some folks you want me to talk to. Is that what it is? Well, Mr. Joe, Edgar, if you don't mind here, we've got some visitors at the hospital today, and well, they would like to ask you some questions, and I want to stress now that you are no obligation to answer them. If at any point they ask anything that makes you uncomfortable or anything that you would not like to talk about, Edgar, you are free to just look at me, and I'll cancel this interview right away. You understand? Oh no, that's fine. That's fine, Doc. I don't mind. It's getting kind of bored anyway. That's fine. It's okay if I smoke. And he kind of looks at all of you. Is okay?
Feel free.
Okay, good. All right. And he's like kind of scratching his forehead a little bit, and he sits down. He's like, hey, how you doing? I'm gonna say Patrick maybe was sitting there because he was the first one in, and he just kind of extends. He goes to extend his hand to shake your hand, but then he realizes the cigarettes and, oh shit, sorry. And he moves it over to the other hand and he extends his hand out to shake you. Hey, how you doing? Hey, good job. How you doing? How's it going? How's everyone doing?
Marie Wynn, very nice to meet you.
Miss Wynn, nice to meet you, ma'am. Nice to meet you. How you doing? There's a lot of people in here, Doc. There's a lot of people. It's okay, Edgar. Don't worry about it at all. They're all very friendly here. They just want to ask you a few questions, if that's all right with you, about, I believe, some of your experiences. Okay. That's what this is about. I figured. Yeah, they don't really. Yeah, okay. I guess that makes sense. And he kind of looks around. He's like, so what's your guys' deal?
So, Edgar, what's your relationship with Douglas?
Right to it. I like this guy. You see, he kind of like leans on his elbow a little bit. And what's my relationship with Douglas, Mr. Henslow? Well, we don't really have much of one. I'll be honest. Complicated, to put it in a particular term. He tried to kill me. I tried to kill him. Water under the bridge, It happens, right?
Any particular motives?
Motives. That's kind of oh boy, you're just jumping right into the deep end here. It all goes back to Los Angeles, 24? I think that's what it was. And everything that went down out there, he lost some friends, I lost some friends, and some things happened, and Dr. Keaton prefers that I don't really relive those days, because he doesn't want me to, what was it, Doc? Externalize my fears. He don't really like me talking about monsters too much, unless they're me. But yeah, it's about. It goes back to that, Mr. Price. It's got everything to do with that.
I understand his suggestions there. That's good advice as well. Mr. Job, that's a good biblical name, Job. Are you a believer
My name's Edgar.
of any
Job's
sort of?
just a family name.
Would you yourself a believer?
In what?
In a higher power.
That's a question right there. Sure. I like how you say A, not the. Folks like you, no offense, Pastor. Folks like you tend to think there's just the one. And my experience is a lot more, some old things out there. They all got all sorts of names. But sure. I believe that there are things of greater power than ourselves.
And would you ever have been associated with any of their prophets or messengers? Maybe a man named Echeverria?
Well, you guys are good. Doc, these guys are good. They just get right to it. Well, they spoke with Douglas already, and they went to Dougie first. Okay, no, that's fine. I understand. Yeah. I know Echeverria. Yeah. I met him around the time that I was at UCLA. I was studying mathematics. I got a mind for it, numbers and things. Very smart. Folks look at me, they don't think that, but you can trust me on this. Anyhow, George introduced us. Yeah, I think. What was his name? George. What the hell was his name? Was it Avery? No, that ain't right. Ayers, maybe? Yeah, that's what it was. So strange, Pastor. I can hear his voice, but why can't I remember, that little
You need
bit?
to think of it in a context. Think of a situation with him.
Maybe. It's all kind of hazy. The whole time's all kind of hazy. I mean, they got me on 9 different pills right now, Doc. They got me on big ones. They got me on small ones, blue ones, red ones, capsules, such.
Well, that's for your benefit there, Edgar.
No, I know. I wasn't suggesting anything otherwise, Doc. You've been nothing but you've been very good to me. You've helped me a lot. I wasn't what do they call it? Casting aspersions? That's not what I was trying to do there. And it's not like that's the first time I had drugs. Like, basically high, 23, 24, that whole year. I was, my goodness. But yeah, I knew Echeverria. Yeah, he was something. That guy. He was an interesting one. Yeah, what do you want to know?
You wouldn't happen to know how someone could get in contact with him, follow him up for a few questions?
Maybe one of your kind could. Yeah, because none of us here can.
And why is that?
Oh, well. Got cut in half by a shotgun. Oh, I mean, if you know folks that can live from such a thing, then maybe. But, yeah, anyhow.
No, I don't believe I do.
Well, I'm saying that, bastards, you've got some sort of conduit to Jesus Christ, right? And all of his power and wisdom or whatever it might be.
So what is the higher power that you associated with in the cult?
Associated with. It's an interesting word there. Associated with. Does one really associate with Golgoroth? I don't think one really associates. Listen. Let me just tell you. It was a strange time. 23, 24. There was just all sorts of parties. Echeverria, he would put them together. What was his first name? Ramon? One of them all ones. Anyhow, he was the one, He was the one who was associated, if you understand. Now, lots of books, that guy. That's when I think it was George who introduced us, actually. It was 23. Got brought into his library, Echeverria's library. Books everywhere. So many books. Never seen so many. Well, I've seen more books, but UCLA's got the library, but not these kind of books. There were tons of books, spooky books, creepy books. Yeah, Echeverria, he would dig into them. You know, he would get all these ideas for stuff for us to do. You know, sex things. You know, things to say, that sort of stuff. And he threw some absolutely crazy parties, like absolutely sex, drugs. Like I said, I was basically high from, I don't know, 23 to 24. So, memory, you know. But I remember the sex, lots of it, and the drugs. He got some drugs, potent stuff too. Whew, better than what the doc is now. No, Edgar. Now let's not go. I'm just making a joke, Doc. I'm just making a joke. Now, anyhow, to get to the point, Echeverria, he made all sorts of promises to us. You know, he actually promised me power. What? All of us, I suppose, maybe, but that was the word, right? That's a weird word to use, isn't it? I don't know. Anyhow, he said, I remember this. Well, maybe I don't. I don't know. But I remember that he said that we'd get whatever we wanted in the new time. When Golgoroth was here. Golgoroth. Now, we didn't call him that. We called him the Fisher. The Fisher from the outside. Don't ask me why. I don't know why. But anyhow, I didn't want power. I didn't want any of that. Whatever. Anyhow. Like I said, a lot of good those promises did him, given what happened to him. Kind of leans forward again, and as he talks, some of you can smell the cigarettes, but you can also smell like this like battling for the scent of his breath, mouthwash, just sort of this spearmint kind of coming out as well. So yeah.
Well, what about this George? Is he still alive or is he deceased as well?
Oh, I don't really know what happened to George, to be honest. Well, Pastor, we've tried multiple times to contact Mr. Ayers, and UCLA seems to be a little bit murky about his whereabouts currently. We can touch base with that later, if that's all right with you. Stay on task, perhaps.
Oh, I appreciate that, Dr. Keaton.
Oh, of course. Yeah, anyhow, I don't really remember what happened to him. He wasn't there, you know, the night, you know what I mean? He wasn't there that night, so, lucky for him. Now, Edgar, I'm sorry, you're right, Doc. You're right, I shouldn't make light of it, I understand.
Does the name Winston mean anything to you?
Walter Winston. Yeah, he was old Henslow's friend. Yeah, we know Echeverria kind of knew a little bit at a certain point. People were onto us here and there, and we heard the name. I don't know him well, nothing like that, but we kind of, you know, we knew a few here and there. We knew some names. That was one. Henslow, that's how I tracked him down. You know, sent flowers to Stack's family. But I think I did. Did I send flowers or did I just think I sent flowers? I don't know. Anyhow, yeah, I know the name.
So I just have to ask, it sounded like when we were talking to Douglas that there was quite the event that happened. How was it that you were able to escape with your life when Echeverria was not?
You see him kind of like get a little kind of bouncy, a little like kind of not shivering, but definitely like starting to shake. It's all right, Edgar. Now, if they, like I said, you can go ahead, you can answer them questions if you like, and if you don't want to answer them, then you don't need to. And if at any point you want us to stop, you just say so, and I'll just take care. And it's all right. Yes, ma'am. I can answer that question. So like I said, Echeverria, right? He basically got blown in half. You ever see what happens to a man when a shotgun blast gets him up close? That's
That's a terrifying and very bloody sight, but that's what
Thankfully
happened.
not.
Well, let's hope never, right? Anyhow, so at Shiveria, he goes and he gets blown away right after the summoning, just right after it. Freaking guy got shot right down, and so anyhow, I pick up his knife. At Shiveria, he used to have this knife, this big old ugly knife. Well, anyhow, I stabbed the guy. A stack. Stab him a couple times. Maybe more than a couple. And then that's how I got away. I did it to get away. Understand, I did it to get away.
Absolutely. This was someone that you looked up to that was taken too soon.
And he was going to kill me. You understand? He was going to kill me, Amy.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's the only way I was going to get away.
Self-defense.
What did you do with the knife?
I don't know. That's the question you're asking? The knife.
It's okay.
Dear God. What the fuck is this? Who are these people? What kind of fucking question is that?
Now, Edgar, calm down. Calm down. She didn't mean nothing by it. Go ahead. You just continue. Just continue in your own way. It's fine. It's fine.
I say I kill a guy, and she can see I'm upset about it, Doc, and she just asks about the knife. I'm just saying I didn't want to kill him. All right, I did. I see his face every night.
I'm so sorry, Job.
Oh yeah, you're so sorry, and that's why you want to know about the knife. You want me to go into detail about the stabbing too? How many times? Where I stabbed him too? Is that what you want? Now you're good.
No. We're just it's the things that are left behind or sometimes get buried that can bring closure sometimes to families and others, but we only need you to talk about that as much as you and Doc here are comfortable.
Indeed, as Miss Wynn says, we tend to be the analytical sort, and sometimes the smallest of detail will just stick out in our brains, and we can't help but follow up and ask about it.
Yeah, and as he says that, Beverly looks at Pastor Wood. I have been known to latch on to factual information and be rude. I do apologize.
No, it's all right. It's just Dr. Keaton says that I can't undo it. So it's best if I just move on, right? That's what you say, right, Doc?
That's correct. That's exactly what I let. Very good, Edgar. Very good. Deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. There you go. Right there.
That sounds just so very smart of the doctor. Rolled a 17 under 70 on charm.
Okay. All right. Anyhow, I'm sorry. I don't remember what happened with the knife. I really don't remember. I don't know. It was a weird night. I got there. I remember at Shiveria, he put some sort of spell on me or something. I don't know. It was weird. This is the night we summoned it, I never really felt more special. But Dr. Keaton,
and looks like Dr. Keaton's about to say something.
He's like, Dr. Keaton says I shouldn't dwell on that. Anyhow, I was right before the fishes showed up, or the thing, or whatever. Anyhow,
you see, he just kind of shudders when he mentions it's showing up.
No.
Might you be able to describe that for us a bit, as we were not there?
And he kind of looks over towards you and he kind of gives this kind of wry smile.
I only saw a glimpse of it before I ran. Everything was crazy. It had these long, like weird limbs, not like what we got, not like me. I'm gangly, but that ain't that. They were long, And then it didn't have no head. Like none. But there were mouths. There were so many mouths. I couldn't really make it out, to be honest with you. Beyond that, I didn't really try though. I was screaming. Just screaming. Everyone was screaming, And I stabbed that guy. And then I ran the hell out. I got into the fields and I just ran. So yeah. And put that in your papers or whatever.
You could see that Dr. Keaton at this point is sort of staring somewhat angrily at Marie for asking that question. She's just sort of giving you this look like, what the hell is wrong with you? But he doesn't say anything currently as he's got the promise of funding on the horizon.
Well, thank you. I'm sure it's very difficult to relive those things, but we appreciate that very, very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Sounds like a very traumatic night, and trauma does manifest from person to person.
Be careful with that. He does it. He says that. He minimizes it. Don't minimize what happened. Don't say it was trauma. Trauma is when you get in a car accident, right? Trauma is when you go in the war and you hear the sounds of shells and stuff. We summoned a fucking god outside of a fucking barn in Los Angeles. And I ripped the guy. I stabbed him 100 times. That ain't fucking trauma.
And you're like, Edgar, calm down now. She just was trying to be nice.
Yeah, she was trying. Condescending.
Mr. Job
is what she was doing.
Perhaps I could ask a bit of a simpler question.
What's that, Pastor?
If you were from
Jesus
Los Angeles
again?
and California, how did you find yourself 12 years later here in Savannah, Georgia, at no less the same sanitarium as one of your old adversaries?
It ain't unintentional. It ain't divine will or anything like that. If that's what you're going to try to sell me on, there wasn't.
No. I
bright.
had a feeling it was a much more human reason.
I bounced around a couple places like this here and there for a while. Some of them helped, some of them didn't. And eventually, they made me realize that I bear responsibility and fault for what happened. And I took it upon myself to apologize. Like I said, I sent the guy I killed, I sent his family some flowers anonymously, don't worry. I think I did. And then I remembered Henslow, Winston, but he was hard to get to, so I couldn't get to him. But I found Henslow easy. He just went home. That's all he did. And I tried to talk to him. I said, I'm sorry. Bygones be bygones. You did some things, I said some things, etc., etc. He didn't really like it. So, to answer your question, Pastor, I'm here because I'm trying to make amends for my sins or some shit. Now, Edgar, we don't need to do the vulgarity in front of the ladies here. I'm sure they've heard it before. They probably say it. Look at that one over there. She was chuckling.
Points over at China.
If it does get a little bright.
Yeah.
Actually, Mr. Edgar, Mr. Job.
Edgar's fine. Edgar's fine.
Okay, Mr. Edgar. I also have a question, if it's okay.
Shoot.
I've heard a lot of things about worshipping higher powers that are not Jesus. No offense, Pastor. But the books rarely talk about why people start. Why did you join up when such horrible things were asked of you later? What
Well, let's
made you join up at the start?
be pretty clear about it. I was a young, impressionable man, college, and I get invited. They're like, hey, kid, come with us. Got a school party. I go to Georgie. Brings me on out, takes me to Echeveria's place. I mean, you got drugs, alcohol, booze, sex, gorgeous women, gorgeous men. Come on. I feel like the reason's pretty obvious.
You get him nods understanding the
Never really felt special before, so it's hard to turn that kind of thing down. You got something?
So was this farm close to UCLA?
It was in LA. It was outside LA, really, but it was out there. Yeah. I don't remember the dresses are not so good. Numbers, dates, that sort of thing. Sorry.
Yeah, LA is a large place.
It was one of Echeveria's places, I'm sure. He had a lot of money, that guy.
Where was his library?
I was in his house. He was in LA somewhere.
I'd very much like to see that.
Well, I don't know what happened to it. He's been dead for 12 years, so I imagine something happened to it. I don't know. I didn't do nothing with it. Anyhow.
Miss Oberon, would you be so kind to produce your most recent notes? Mr. Job, would you happen to be able to explain what this might be? Does this have any sort of meaning to you?
What's that? Let me see. Pulls it over with his left hand, and you can see he starts to smile as he puts the cigarette. Yeah, we both do that, Henslow and me. I know it watches us, the thing we summoned. But maybe it can't see us or see us as well if we put up those marks, Yeah, Echeverria, like I said, he's got that library, right? Showed them to me. They had it all up and down, columns, left and right, walls, etc. That's how I learned in that place. It's called the thing with 1,000 miles. Yeah, these old things, they got all sorts of names. Fisher, Golgoroth, whatever. Anyhow, yeah, we both do it. I know it. I see him sometimes here and there on the walls and such, and I'm like, I didn't do that one. That's how I know. Old Dougie.
How often do you have to do them?
They wear down, folks clean them up, that sort of thing.
So as soon as they're gone, only if they're gone.
Hey, you don't want to think about this for a second. What's your name, Miss Oberon?
Shaima Oberon. And she's at this point super interested in she has been very interested. But
he leans forward. He's got a cigarette in his mouth. Think about this. You're a normal human being, small, and you attract the attention of something older, smarter, wiser, unfathomably more powerful than you. Whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, wouldn't you want some privacy every now and then?
Yes. It and again, for the briefest moment, look passes, flickers across her face that Dr. Key probably recognizes. And she kind of leans back and yes. Is this protection just from the fissure, or is it something that can be used more broadly?
Hey, I ain't the expert, you know. But
Mr. Henslow.
no, he ain't the expert either. I think he knows less than I do, but he knows enough. We're still
Who
alive,
would be
aren't
the
we?
expert?
Well, they had a guy, but he's dead. We had a guy, but he's dead. So, George, maybe. I don't know where he's at. Never returns my calls.
We gotta go to. We need to go to Mr. Edgevera's library. We
Yeah.
need to understand this protection.
He had a beautiful spread, that guy. Good taste. A lot of things. Learned a lot.
And he kind of looks over. He kind of like scans the room to the women. He just kind of gives like this really cruel, creepy, like kind of almost lecherous grin. But then he catches himself.
So, I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well, I believe that's about all the questions I have. Anyone else? Unless you can think of something else you think might be important for us.
I mean, what are you guys doing?
We're just trying to fill in holes in the past about Mr. Winston's history.
Well, good luck with
Do you
that.
know of Francis Hakering?
Done ring a bell.
You think you'll get out of here someday?
Well, Mr. Price, let's not talk about prognosis and such. It's really
pardon
not
me.
about.
I might
We're
have
just
overstepped.
making him healthier is what we're trying to do, little by little.
Yeah, that's a no. At least not the way he wants me to get out of here.
Nah, Edgar.
I'm
Are
just
you a ward of the
kidding.
state then?
Yeah, since Dougie and I had that run-in, we're both here. Violent. Danger to the public and to ourselves.
But really, only to each other.
I got no intention to hurt no one. And I don't think he does either. Not that anyone listens to it.
Now, Edgar, now's not the time to litigate your treatment or your punishment.
You're right, Doc. I apologize. All right. I think if that's not enough, I'm getting a little low on this one. I got more back in my room. It's been a pleasure. Nice to meet all of you, Mr. Price, Pastor, ladies.
He gets up, kind of does this little bow. See a bit of the ash kind of fall off his cigarette, and he walks on out. Well, I did not realize some of your questions would be so pointed. It's one thing to engage him in conversation. It's another thing to suggest some of the things that he has seen and described are real. Now, I am not going to go ahead and presume that all of you think that anything that this man or Mr. Henslow has said is anything more than their way of externalizing some terrible violence that they perceive this creature with no head and all these mouths. Clearly, it's a metaphor. I'm not one for Mr. Freud, but at the same time, I imagine there's some meaning to it. However, have you gotten all you need from them two gentlemen?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for your time today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much. I imagine you said you wanted to see some rooms. I imagine I can go ahead and do that for you right now, Mr. Wood.
I would greatly appreciate that.
And so we'll say that you guys spend the rest of your time here, maybe the next hour, kind of continuing the tour that was interrupted by the attack on Patrick. And you kind of go and you visit some specific rooms. And one thing you do notice, since you were looking for it, is that in essentially all of the public spaces, so like entertainment room, common room, etc., you do find those similar little kind of glyphs and runes. You peek in to like Henslow's room, same thing. Job's room, same thing. Some of the hallways and such that kind of connect those places, same thing. It's not every single room. There's some other private places, other patient rooms, things like that don't have them. But definitely, it's kind of reinforcing what you've just learned. Like the two of them are doing it, and they're doing it wherever they have access, basically.
Shaw is making an additional note of that, and
Sure.
With the intention of making these. Basically, she wants to have a reference so she can draw it for them when they get back to the hotel.
Yeah, no problem. You easily can document all of what you're seeing. That's not an issue. Now, we'll say like we're maybe in his office, or maybe we're in his outside by the sort of reception. Now, it's been a pleasure. Please give my kind regards to Mrs. Winston Rogers here, and I'll be looking forward to hearing from her or her people when it comes to potential business arrangements we might be able to have. And if there's any further inquiries you might have with Mr. Henslow, Mr. Job, or anything else about Joy Grove, I can tell you I am more than happy to oblige. You all have been an absolute pleasure. Mr. Price, keep an eye on that little cut of yours. If it festers and such, you just go ahead and give us a call and we'll take care of it, will you? Just clean it up tonight before you go to sleep. And once again in the morning, repeat that bandage process for a day or two, and I'm sure it'll heal up just fine.
Thank you for your advice.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Pleasure. And he kind of goes around, kind of shakes everyone's hand, stuff like that, and bids you all adieu. And so, with that, you guys have literally just spent almost the whole day between the tours and the interviews, etc., at Joy Grove, that by the time you get out, it's like it's dark. Like it's nighttime. Or at least close enough to it. They make a call, they get you a car, of course, and you kind of hop back in and sort of begin winding your way back. So it is nighttime. So what would your next plan of action be? What are we thinking?
I believe in the morning we should try to visit Mrs. Henslow again.
Okay. All right. Any other ideas? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that we would do this late at night.
Sure.
Shem is just gonna make the runes in everybody's room, and
Sure.
If anyone protests, be like, just in case.
Well, I would prefer not to have the devil's handwriting in the boiler room next to my cot.
I would also prefer
I'm
not
sorry,
to.
Pastor Wood, I must insist.
Well, I must insist that you don't.
We would prefer that you not wake up in the middle of the night with a many-fingered, no-mouthed creature trying to eat you. So
You really bought into all of that.
I believe that when
Yes.
one individual has a story, that is one thing. But when multiple individuals share the same story, there is something there, something cultural, something seen, something experienced, not too unlike your book and the stories therein. There are shared stories that then have shared meanings, and it doesn't necessarily mean that they are untrue just because a non-believer calls them such.
Shama has said yes without caveat or anything. Yes. Divine that, yes.
Yes, Dr. K.
I just can't wait till we do return home so I can access the library at the university. There's so many different things that I need to study further.
Well, we definitely have so much more information after these interviews than we had before, and this is just very. It's just so I wonder the course of treatment that's being used with the two of them. Very, very interesting. Mr. Price, you disappeared for a bit.
Well, they were treating me. No, but
Oh.
I happened to snoop away into his office, and boy, would you know. I'll share the things I found.
Oh,
So yeah,
They're
so
paying for his treatment.
yeah.
That is-
Does anyone have medicine or pharmacy too? Because you can roll that now. as
I
well as
have
the lingering bit.
medicine.
Yeah, give it a rip.
I got one in medicine.
First aid. Okay.
Yeah, first aid's like for the act of applying it. Medicine's more like the knowledge, and that's like sort of like being able to recognize like what these pharmacological things do and whatnot.
Don't have pharmacy. I waffled with being a
Medicine's fine.
doctor.
You can roll medicine.
What do you have in
Medicine's
medicine?
21.
That's better than
roll.
1.
Yeah, seriously.
And we do have boosts if we need them. You don't need them.
Oh, nice. 13.
fine. So basically, what you can tell is that there are all of the treatments that they're giving, both Douglas Henslow and Edgar Job, very, very clearly are large doses that are meant to basically subdue the patient, cause grogginess, generally kind of make them more pliant, and certainly is probably contributing to maybe some of the fuzziness when it comes to their memory. And when you look at, or you kind of confer with Patrick about the confrontational therapy, like you can see that they were kind of screwing around with it. They were messing with it. They were like, let's see what happens if we just don't do this. Confrontational therapy itself, and I'll just roll over your medicine, and coupled with Patrick's role, not well thought of. It is a type of thing that could have has some ethical questions behind it, but more so the fact that they were actually manipulating the dosages to try to generate a response, and then it eventually going into like this violent response. It definitely seems like they were definitely coloring outside the lines. They were really messing around with some ethical gray area. I would say that's probably all you would have from that.
Well, Dr. K, they're just toying with these men.
It is an ethical dilemma. I do agree.
And to write a book.
Well, yes.
I do hope the university research that you do takes much better care of the humans that are involved.
Well, I study anthropology, so vastly different.
Oh, yes. Well, I would say so.
I
So-
don't
I don't know
we
about-
might be a little too concerned about a man who wasted his life away and participated in an event that led to many, many deaths.
Well, that is quite a bit of judgment there, Pastor Wood. I thought you were a lot more all for forgiveness and understanding.
Oh no, God is all in favor of judgment.
Is the sanitarium like walking distance from the hotel?
Yeah, sort of. Like you could potentially get there. It's like a 10-minute car ride. So what would that be? Probably like a 45-minute walk,
Like
something like that.
Okay. If there's a drugstore nearby the hotel, Sharma was like really messed with when Keaton said that they hadn't had visitors in like 8 years, and like that really bothered her. So she's gonna try and find a drugstore on the way there and buy 2 copies of her favorite dime novel, which is about a Texas Ranger that she will tell Pastor Wood about at some point, called Wrangle Up Some Love. She's gonna buy 2
love
copies of that and walk that over to the sanitarium. And drop it off at the front desk and say, "This is for Douglas Henslow and for Edgar Job."
Okay.
Maybe it's not the same as visitors, but just something new to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would say you could certainly do that. And if you do it at the end of the night, like if you do it like in the evening, like it's much more closed down.
I'd love to do it privately because I am quite embarrassed by it.
Yeah, sure. And you could drop it off at the front desk, like Bethany May, Nurse Bethany, or one of the other nurses will grab it. And like, oh, aren't you so sweet? Thank you so much. So very kind. It's so very thoughtful. And
have you read Wrangle Up Some Love? It's fantastic.
Well, I'm going to this evening now with that kind of recommendation.
Pulls out her very worn copy and gives it to her. I've read it so many times.
Oh, well, this is so very kind of you. I just don't know what to say other than thank you very much.
I hope you like it.
Oh, I'm sure I will. Now, thank you very much. And you have a wonderful night.
Thank you, too.
Bye now. I like to see like it's this awkward, like, and eventually you leave. Okay. So you said in the morning, like your goal was to go out to the Henslow estate, right? Now that you have like the note and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll say then night passes, you spend some time getting dinner, drinks, whatever it might be, commiserating, going over your notes, things like that. Morning as well comes, breakfast, cleaning up. Service has been impeccable at this hotel. No issues whatsoever. And do you hire a car again to drive you out there? Is that the plan?
Yes, we're certainly not walking that far. Hiring a car.
And so we'll say you hire the car, same driver that came to you before. Like, oh yeah, I'm more than happy to take y'all out there. That'd be just fine, absolutely. It's just such a wonderful country drive. The day is a little bit more overcast. As you're driving out, you can definitely tell that like there's going to be probably a storm on the horizon. You probably even get maybe a little bit of a late start because maybe in the morning you wake up to some storms here and there. There's kind of wetness everywhere. Getting the car out is a little bit more difficult, and so maybe you get a little bit later start in the day than you really want to, and you start traveling across these country roads and things. Kind of see again the same sort of images we've seen before: the hanging moss and the trees that kind of gnarl over here and there, the swamps and greenery that start to almost kind of strangle the road in some places here and there. You can see that along the side of the roads, dogs or various other kind of wild animals and such kind of peek out from time to time. Eventually, asphalt kind of turns to clay, and so the drive itself is one where it has that sort of sticky post-rain feel to it, where the humidity is just sort of penetrating into the car. And again, all of you are very tightly put into here. Like you have put the max amount of people you can in this particular car as you're driving around. Now, the drive itself is like a good 2 hours, but with the conditions of the roads and the rains kind of adding a little bit more time onto it, and the whole way there, your driver's kind of apologizing and apologizing and apologizing. At a certain point, Marie, there's this sort of monotony sometimes to the road. It's bumping, moving around here and there, but we'll say you're kind of looking out at the swamps and the wilds along the country road. You can kind of see at one point in this relatively kind of gray background in between these small little slits in the moss and such, what looks like a deer bounding through the shrubbery. You can see it kind of getting near every now and then the waterfront itself, but it's moving in a way that is quite fast. Like you're trying to track it and you're unable to get quite like a perfectly clear view, but it's going faster than the car at times. Like it's chasing something, or like it's being chased. And finally, you can see that there's like this small gap that opens up in that hanging moss, and you see that this deer, after having it ahead of you for a bit, has come to a stop. And it's facing the road as the car passes. And you're right there on the window and you're looking out, and as you pass, you realize the deer has no head. None at all. Just a flattened stump, barely protruding from their body, ending just an inch or so above its shoulders. You let out a scream. Anyone would, right? But something's odd about that scream. You hear a voice, your voice, but it's wheezing out words in a language that you can't understand. Except you realize it's not coming from your own mouth. Your shirt starts to shift right around your belly, as if it's kind of being pushed on from within. It starts to dampen and dampen more and more, and you start to kind of tear away at the shirt, revealing this wide mouth, tongue probing this cut across your stomach like a gash, oozing pus and blood. It's yelling out alien words in your own voice. It's every time you try to call for help, your own mouth begins to shrink away to nothing, closing around your own tongue, swallowing your teeth with the flesh until you can't breathe, can't exhale. You start to suffocate until you awaken. You're in the car, still. Apparently you dozed off at some point, maybe. You can see that the car has come to a stop, and you can feel it kind of shaking here and there. You look outside, and you can see the driver is changing a tire. Apparently there was some kind of blowout. It's delayed your travel to the Henslow estate. But you don't really have any recollection exactly of having stopped. You can see that everyone's around, either in the car with you, or some maybe have gotten out. And for a brief moment, you reach down and you touch your stomach. You don't feel a mouth, but you feel this absurd dampness. And that's where we're going to stop for today.
Yoey.
Oh,
So good. So good.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I know I said 10 more minutes last time, but whatever we do, let us 10 more minutes this time.
I would totally play more. There's things I want to do, but like the Henslow thing is like a whole thing. It's like we play for 10 more minutes. Now we gotta play for 45. Play for 45, gotta play for like 2 hours. So it's like,
Wait, what's the problem?
Right?
fair point, but we're gonna end there. We're gonna
That was so good.
super productive. I think we got a lot done.
Yeah.
That was a
That's
great
awesome.
session.
Dying,
Great
yeah.
session.
That was a lot of
So
fun,
good.
guys. That was so much fun. Yeah. I love that Patrick snuck off and fucking
Me
broke into
too.
Keaton's office.
Yeah.
I love that Patrick is becoming our
He's so
sneaky
good.
steak.
Yeah, he's
What I
like,
said.
sneaks right
Last
in.
session too.
nice. That's
Yeah.
awesome. It was so cool. Yeah, it was great. We had two really long, interesting conversations. Hopefully, you're kind of starting to get you're getting some stuff. You're getting some info.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
some hints into
yes.
places. It's
Two
really starting
full
to open up
pages
a little
of
bit.
notes.
You guys, I can't begin to tell you how much I love this campaign. Like, I've read it multiple times. You remember how when this is for those of you who played in it, this is for Long and Ashley and Melissa. Like, remember when we were doing Delta Green and Possible Landscapes, and how I just couldn't stop. Like this is just so good. Like, this is so amazing. and
That's
so good.
awesome.
I'm very much feeling the same way. It's a different vibe. Like, it's totally a different vibe. But I'm getting that same feel. Like, where I'm just like, man, I just really like
That's
this campaign.
great, man.
So I wish
Best feeling you can get as a GM.
Yeah, it's just like, man, this is good. So like, hopefully you're enjoying it. Hopefully you're having fun.
Yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome. And you guys look amazing. I love how everyone's getting into it. Like the voices. This is guys. I'm having so much fun. So I think this is going great. Which makes this kind of sad to say that we are off next week. And we won't be back for 2 weeks. Next week is like Christmas weekend. So we're going to be off Friday,
My fault.
Saturday.
I'm going out of
and
town.
Monday.
So this dude was born, or I
don't think
His name was
Just like you
Golgoroth.
were
Is it
going out
Golgoroth's
of town.
birthday? I think. Yeah.
Guy was born a couple thousand years ago. We all suffer for it.
So, well, yeah, we're gonna be. We still got games next week, but we're off next week. So we'll be back in 2 weeks with more Call of Cthulhu. So I'm very excited too because we get to play this every week. That's like what I'm really really excited about. Like, I love Call of Cthulhu. I love those big long campaigns, but I feel like it's like I want to play it every week because it's just there's so much rich stuff to get into it. All right, why don't we do some plugs and stuff. We got raided earlier. Melissa, did you see who it was? I was in character and it was really hard to break.
Valdriant.
Thank you so much for the raid. I apologize for not calling out sooner. Make sure everyone, if you haven't already, go follow them. Great stuff over there. Let's do some shout outs for us. What we're doing. We'll start with Mytrate. Where can we find you on the internet?
I might do plays games on YouTube if you want to watch system agnostic stuff about tabletops.
Absolutely. Perfect. Link in the script. If you're watching this later on YouTube or something like that, just check the show notes and stuff. You'll see everything down there. It'll have links to basically everything. Let's see. What else we got? So next game after tonight is going to be Monday. We're back to playing Fragged Empire. Mytrey, I get to see you on Monday. Mytrey, myself, Melissa, we're all playing some Fragged Empire 2nd edition space sci-fi game, the vein of Farscape, my favorite sci-fi show of all time.
Freaking loving Fragged Empire.
Zany,
so
fun.
much.
I love it. I really love that group. It's so much fun. Tuesday, Steven. What do we got going on?
Tuesday, we're playing more Marvel, specifically our own little blend of X-Men. And we have some giveaways right now on the Adventures in Lollygagging YouTube channel. You can watch the video, you can leave a comment and be entered for a chance to win a giveaway. And show up live on Tuesday and you'll have a chance to win a giveaway there. We're giving away digital codes for the core rulebook on Demiplane.
Dude, you're getting so much crisper with that. Like the first time.
It just takes like 5 tries.
Like the first time we did it, it was just like the square root of the hypotenuse of 6, 15 hieroglyphics from Egypt, something on, I think you have to put it on Vine. Is that where it goes? That was great. No, that was perfect. Dude. You nailed it.
We get a Vine channel.
Rip Vine. Everyone pour one out. And then what else do we have next week? We're on schedule to do Werewolf next week as well. So next Thursday, Werewolf the Apocalypse, where we're raiding a wizard tower, basically, but in modern day. So it was a lot of fun. And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday next week. Friday, Saturday, and Monday, we're off for the holidays. So come hang out with us on Monday. Come hang out with us on Tuesday. Come hang out with us on Thursday. And that's about it. Thanks to everyone who hung out and watched. We really do appreciate it. Thanks again to Norse Foundry for funding that giveaway. And congratulations to Tool to Twitch. We're going to go ahead and raid Lost Caravan RPG. Our buddies over there. They're playing a game that it's on my list. I think you might like it, Long. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
I'll be seeing you.
Bye.